Hi, welcome back to the Political Beat at lfpress.com. I'm Pat, this is Chip, and we are already in the throes of election fever, even though the election is, let me do the math, 10 months away? 9 months away?
October 27th.
Yeah, so what's that? That's like 9 or 10 months.
9 months.
Already, I am surprised by the number of people who have thrown their hat in the proverbial ring. We've got 4 incumbents who have already entered their names for re-election. That's Bill Armstrong in Ward 2 in the East End, Stephen Orser in Ward 4, Paul Hubert in Ward 8, and Denise Brown in Ward 11, seeking her second term. I always wonder if there's a little bit of what the calculation is for candidates when it comes to entering their names for re-election. I guess, like Denise was like the first day I'm in.
Well, you can't formally or legally raise money until you have filed your nomination papers.
Right.
So someone that wants to get cracking and raise money, or they have people just can't wait to give them the money, would probably submit their name early. Others may be quietly doing it behind the scenes, and one wonders, for instance, with Mayor Fontana, who has indicated that end of May, June, he will be filing his nomination papers. I can't imagine nothing happening at all with respect to a potential campaign war chest for him or others, anyone else that hasn't necessarily technically filed their papers yet. It's. I would think the earlier you put your name in, the better it is in terms of name recognition, letting people know you're out there, dissuading others from coming forward, and getting the money rolling in.
Right, so that's a very good point. And I think the other side of that coin is incumbents who aren't coming back again. We know for sure Joni Beckler, as we reported last week. Judy Bryant is not coming back.
I think you broke that story, actually.
Yeah.
Judy Bryant.
Judy Bryant is not coming back. Nancy Brandt's home many months ago, so she wasn't coming back.
That's right.
And so that's 3 of the 15 who have decided that they're going to walk away from City Hall, which raises a really interesting issue because those are all 3 that vote in the same block, I guess you
more
could
or less,
say.
Yeah,
They generally tend to vote against the mayor and against.
They were known as the killer. They were known as the Killer Bees.
Yeah, they were part of the Killer Bees, of course, absolutely, with Gina Barber, and I guess it opens something up because I don't see any natural successor in any of those 3 wards yet.
No. It's going to be very interesting. We will definitely see some new faces. We may see a larger than normal number of new faces when all is said and done. There's some question marks out there about some other people. We don't know their intentions. They're being a little coy about things for now.
Yeah.
I think there may be another 1, maybe 2 incumbents that decide not to seek re-election. Which would then, with these 3, would make 5 or 6, say a third of the council potentially could be new. Be interesting.
Yeah, that would be. And again, Stephen Turner's running against Denise, and he's a former head of the Urban League, so that's an interesting rival.
That's right.
And Jared Zafman is once again running against
Sandy White in Ward 14.
Ward 14, and she beat him by
162.
So it was a pretty close race 4 years ago.
Close race.
And so he's 4 years older. I think he's in his late 20s now.
27.
4 years wiser, presumably, and we'll have, I think, a really interesting race there, assuming that Sandy runs, which I don't see why she wouldn't.
She is. She told me that she was going to run.
Oh, she did?
Yeah.
Oh, very interesting. And then that brings us to the mayor's race, where we've got Arnon Kaplansky, who's a very entertaining and very outspoken developer. He is running. I'm not sure how serious Arnon is. He's a frequent critic of City Hall, and I wonder if this is a little shot across the bow to the people at City Hall he doesn't like.
I think it's a little protest.
Protest.
He's been very frustrated about what he calls red tape at City Hall. He wants to infill, he wants to improve properties and the like, but he also has a way of really getting in people's faces. The Tower of Spite didn't make him a lot of friends. Trying to promote that renovation on Maitland Street, was it?
I think
William
so,
Street,
yeah.
that got the neighbors all up in arms. He's a little bit brash, and he himself has admitted that he's not so sure what his chances are, but he's making a statement here.
Yeah, and I think that, again, the mayor has not put it in his papers, but has said that he'll run again.
Yep.
And I can't help but wonder if will he wait until the resolution of the criminal proceedings?
He has indicated that late May or June that he will he will be running, but he will not be filing until late May or June. And last time he didn't come forward until May.
Yeah, in 2010 he entered in May.
So that's nothing unusual there. I don't know if we read the criminal charges facing him. He's up on trial on May the 26th, as I recall. I don't know if that's a factor in it, or he would just say potentially it's the same as last time. I didn't file my papers till May anyway.
Yeah, like I said, the calculus that goes into when you enter the race is very interesting to me. So it'll be fun to see how it plays out. Enough about October. Let's talk about now. 2 things that were up this week, Chip, at City Hall. Both what I think really interesting issues. The first is e-bingo. Explain to me what exactly that is.
Well, e-bingo. Bingo is struggling. It's generally played by older people. The charity bingos in the city are down to 2 big ones now. And one of them, the Dearness Drive one, is trying to embrace this e-bingo, electronic bingo, which the Ontario Lottery and Gaming Corporation is trying to promote to modernize the bingo industry. And in fact, it gets rid of paper and it uses electronics. I'm not sure exactly how, but they figure that this is a way to attract young people like yourself who are into pocket devices and tablets and all this other stuff that are savvy about electronics, and that's the way they can build their audience, because in fact their audiences are declining. The number of charity bingos is down, the revenues are down. They're trying to reach out to a younger demographic, and the demographic that's savvy with electronics. That's the intent of what they're trying to do.
It's still bingo, though.
It's still bingo, but
so I struggle with the idea that a younger generation or the plugged-in sort of youth of today are going to be.
Don't you? When was the last time you played bingo, Pat?
It probably would have been about 5 years ago when I was stuck in a cabin that had no electricity, no TV, and my cell phone wasn't working.
But wasn't one of the good things about bingo was those little dauber things?
Oh, the dauber thing.
Yeah, you won't have that with electronic.
So
bingo.
that's interesting, but I mean, there's no huge controversy there, right?
Well, there is a little bit in that the Dale Mackness and some of the Citizens Against Expanding Gambling, I can't remember the name of it, are saying that this is part of the gambling mentality, that it's bad for the city. People have gambling problems. It's only adds to the potential social dislocation caused by gambling generally. And in fact, there was a public meeting that this issue was raised. So there's pros and cons against it. They need to get some more information from the Lottery and Gaming Corporation. That people couldn't make it down here because of the bad weather on Tuesday when this was discussed. And they're going to report back. And whether in fact this thing flies or not, who knows? We'll have to see.
Now, much more interesting to me is the issue of London and its bylaw regarding methadone clinics that flared up again this week. So walk me through exactly
Well, it came out sort of at the last minute at the Corporate Services Committee that there has been a letter that's come in to Mayor Fontana from Barbara Hall, the chair of the Ontario Human Rights Commission, expressing some concerns about the methadone clinic that the city spent an awful lot of time developing, and I think they enacted it back in June, more or less, last year.
Right, so.
And it was something to keep them away from schools, distance requirements from schools, and there were some other measures.
Libraries,
and I think there was something about they had to register the number of patients they're seeing, and they also had to pay a fee. And apparently, this was considered a little bit of an innovation that London was sort of trailblazing with respect to this legislation. Well, in fact, Barbara Hall says we had some concerns about this when you were developing it. We advised you of that. Still, you went ahead, and so now we need to see all this documentation of all the things you considered when you came up with this bylaw. So we want all this stuff. We want it by February the 6th or 9th or something. City says it's going to take at least a month to pull all this thing together because it goes back to 2009. I don't know if we're going to be found in violation of the Ontario Human Rights Code, which didn't go too well last time we were.
Right. But interestingly, this is a public health issue, but this was a bylaw that was put in place by the planning department.
That's right.
To your point, great pains were taken to ensure that this was done properly. I think more than a year was taken putting it together. I do not see the planning department, which was fully aware of any potential concerns from the Human Rights Commission, putting in place a bylaw that would then contravene what Barbara Hall says are the regulations that they'd have to sort of abide by. So personally, I think that this is not going to end up being, I'm all for Barbara Hall taking a look at it, but I don't think it's going to end up being a big problem because I can't see them having put it in place with the amount of work that they put into it and the conscientious work that they did.
Well, human rights people are saying it's an identifiable group of people that you are treating differently than other citizens. And that's the same thing. The last time we had this issue was with respect to the Gay Pride Proclamation that Mayor Haskett wouldn't issue, and that's treating a group of people differently.
Yeah.
I mean, we got nailed on that one in terms of violating the Human Rights Code. We'll have to see on this one. I agree with you. They spent a lot of time looking into it.
I have a lot of faith in the planning department's ability to have sort of towed the line properly. Now, that being said, I have a great deal of sympathy for people that are on methadone, but I don't think that bylaw causes any great harm to them.
But interestingly, why is the planning department handling this thing, which is basically a social issue?
Well, that's because the Ministry of Health at Queen's Park has abdicated its responsibility to these people.
Yes.
And so it's left to the John Flemings of the world, specifically John Fleming in London, to create, to your point, a trailblazing bylaw that other cities and communities are going to have to look to and replicate, provided that the Human Rights Commission gives it the all okay.
The investigation by the Human Rights Commission may be a disincentive to other communities to do anything until this matter is resolved.
Yeah, it's very interesting. So, you know what's interesting? What I've appreciated, people who have been entering their papers in the nomination papers have contacted the Free Press the evening before, maybe a couple days before. Just hey guys, just a heads up.
Have they used the election hotline? The number that's down flashing on your screen?
If you're thinking of entering the race, just give us a heads up.
Election hotline.
Yeah, just
let
us
us know first.
Like a couple of nights in
we
advance.
Care.
Just so we know what's happening and we know what's coming.
We care.
Call us at any time. So on behalf of Chip, I'm Pat, and thanks for joining us. And we'll see you next time at lfpress.com.